While Europe has been in the midst of its economic problems and recovery, China and India have been rearming to the teeth. Is Europe helping China rearm? With suppliers such as Israel, Germany, Russia, and France, arguably Europe knows that China is rearming and is maybe even assisting it. Is this because Europe wants a counterweight to the United States? Or is Europe still worried about placating China, who has been ranked as the largest armed forces in the world, with active personnel of nearly 2.5 million, with reserve forces of 1.5 million, with the second largest navy in the world? A confluence of different national problems and some wars that left over from World War II and other regional conflicts that are frozen in time as yet are still constantly trying to re-emerge within the North Asian psyche, with China rearming because the United States is arming its ally Taiwan, with South Korea arming because Japan is rearming because of China rearming, and North Korea wanting to fight practically everyone except China, with nuclear weapons under the hand of a dictator. Now, since Deng Xiaoping reopened China to foreign investment, and China has steadily rose in power. It's at its greatest power it's ever had since the Mongols ruled China and unified the Eurasian continent, right to the borders of Hungary, over the borders of Hungary to Rome. In fact, China's influence can be felt everywhere, especially in Africa. China is not a land power. China is attempting to become what it's always been, a maritime power. When China in 1465 led its navy throughout Southeast Asia and then onto Africa, it was declaring something. It was declaring that China was a world power. And this is what China is doing now. President Hu has been voted by Mori to be the world's most powerful man. Arguably, I doubt this is true. The Saudis certainly could be seen as more powerful as a family. But if President Hu decided that he would embark on an expansionist policy, he certainly would be the most powerful man, and there would be little that President Obama could do, who came in second, could do to stop him. Herman Van Rompuy, the President of Europe, has been a very subtle and understated politician, but he is not a great communicator, and so he is also under the auspices of the European Union. He has to work with the national leaders such as Angela Merkel of Germany and David Cameron of Britain and Sarkozy of France, those being the three principal members of the EU, the core of the EU. And what have we been doing? While we have been cutting, China has been investing. China has approximately, to pick up the Wikipedia statistics, 250,000 personnel in its navy. It has 58 submarines. That's more submarines than the British have surface or submarine craft. It has 77 principal surface combatants, 84 amphibious warfare ships. Europe has 4. 387 coastal warfare vessels, 31 mine warfare vessels, 370 to 480 landing craft, 150 auxiliary support vessels. This is a massive navy. It's also building carriers. They're building carrier groups so that they can move into the Atlantic. That's right on our doorstep. The Chinese are also on our doorstep in Afghanistan and have an inordinate influence, along with the Bin Laden crime family, over Pakistan. Who will come out top dog between those two sets of evil bastards, we will not know. But should they ever make an alliance, it would be like a bad guys convention. I would say. Now, Asia's Deadly Triangle is because of the region between Afghanistan to North Asia and through India to Indonesia. China is allied to principally Russia, Burma, that's Myanmar, North Korea, Pakistan, and the United States' only ally in Asia, really, truly, is the South Korea-Japanese pact, which is very, very shaky. The two countries do not like one another. It's a bit like the relationship between Israel and Germany, where they are allies and supply each other with weapons and commercial and industrial products, but they literally hate each other. India is the wild card, as Russia is the United States wild card, as Russia is the EU's wild card. Any move to disregard Russia for the EU would be a fatal mistake. This is why I believe the EU must expand to Russia and have Russia as a principal member of the EU. Although Russia's majority territory is in Asia, it is still Eurocentric all the resources go to Moscow. They have a Tartar and North European mindset, so we need to encourage the North European mindset to make Russia more like Scandinavia than an impoverished backwater of the former Soviet Union. There are several problems with China and Russia. That is the control of vast amounts of their economies in the hands of the Russian mafia and the triads, and also the smuggling of opium from Afghanistan by Al Qaeda and the Bin Ladens to Europe as a principal weapon of their campaign of terror on Europe. So what will Europe have to do about Asia's Deadly Triangle? We need to control the flow of oil to Asia, and I don't mean to stop it, but to increase it, because while Asia is dependent on oil and is producing more, we need to placate them with more oil, while Europe moves on to clean energy and moves its industrial military complex onto a footing where it can produce energy itself through fusion power. This means the production first of large-scale fusion power reactors to produce energy for homes and businesses and the industrial capital, but it also means the militarisation of these plants so that they can be put into tank engines, aircraft and other weapons that we have not yet invented. We must also deal with the problems of the Shanghai Cooperation Organisation, which is principally Russia and China and Kazakhstan and Pakistan. Their attempts to use cyber warfare on the EU to shut down our power stations and other hospitals and other such, and our military industrial complex. The only way to do this is to develop cyber warriors of equal ability, but the spending on weapons is in itself an insane policy, because it will inevitably lead to a clash of arms at some point, or a clash of minds should it be cyber warfare. These wars may already be happening. We are not in a Cold War II situation, we're in a hot war. China has already taken over Africa to a large extent, and only the EU can stop it. The United States, meanwhile, feeds the beast by having a Federal Reserve that is keenly aware of China's ability to cut off its funding, and so placates it on every issue. The Chinese have basically told the Americans to go fuck themselves, and the Federal Reserve too, and they're not going to change their currency at all. I may do a part 2 on this series, so stay posted and I'll see you then. Thank you for listening.